Hello, welcome to Taylor Sinise Yoga and Fitness. My name is Taylor. So today we are going to break down downward facing dog. Now downward facing dog can be seen in all of our videos, from our slow flow, our power flow, and even our kids' videos. It's a posture that we come to over and over and over again throughout our flows. So I want to break it down for you and give you a couple of options and modifications so that you can execute downward facing dog in your own body. Well, let's talk about a little bit of the setup and the mechanics of downward facing dog. Your hands are placed on the mat and they're placed shoulder distance apart. You want to spread your fingers wide, push through your fingertips, and then you push through the L of your hand, so the space between your thumb and your index finger, right there. You want to put pressure there. That's going to help remove some of that strain and pressure that you may feel in your wrist in downward facing dog. Know that the goal is never to get your heels flat on the mat. It's to experience a stretch throughout your calf and your Achilles. So let's get into downward facing dog. I'll plant my hands onto the mat, shoulder distance apart. My fingers are spread wide and I'm pushing through the L's, the space between my thumb and my index finger. I step my feet back. They're about hip width distance apart. So I might start off in this high plank pose. That will help ensure that the distance between my hands and my feet are correct. Then you lift your hips up and back towards the ceiling. And this is your downward facing dog. So notice my heels aren't touching the floor, and that's quite all right. But I do feel the stretch in the backs of my calves and my Achilles. If this is a lot on the backs of your legs, you'll start to put a little bend in your knees, as much as you need to remove that pressure. Another great option for your downward facing dog is to use your blocks. This is going to give you even more wrist relief. Place your hands on top of the blocks. Pike your hips, lift them up and back. And press your torso towards your thighs and relax your heels down into your mat. So sometimes we'll see this in our downward facing dog where people will come up onto our tiptoes, but we want the opposite. You want to relax your heels down. And then remember that bend in your knees is always a great option. Because we do downward facing dog so often in our practice, if your shoulders start to really tire out or you feel some strain here, know that you can skip your downward facing dog. And instead of executing down dog, you would just use your tabletop position. Tabletop with your blocks, or tabletop without your blocks. This position can be interchanged. You can move from your downward facing dog at the beginning of practice. Maybe you start to feel the strain in your shoulders, so you'll use tabletop towards the end of your practice. So many options that will allow this yoga to feel good in your body. Thank you so much. I'll see you on your mats for your flows.